Okay, thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you. We are going to go ahead and start this joint hearing, and I want to first begin by welcoming everyone. My name is Robert Garcia, and I'm the ranking member on the House Oversight Committee, and I especially want to thank Senator Blumenthal for his incredible leadership. This is our second joint hearing between our two committees in both, of course, the Senate and the House. And today, of course, we're going to be examining the use of violence in immigration enforcement. And so this is a very important moment for us as a committee, and of course, an important moment for us to understand what is happening across this country. And so we are, of course, excited to be here and understand how important it is for everyone to really understand what's going on at this moment. We're also going to be hearing from a variety of witnesses as well, and we're very grateful to everyone for being here. I want to also just mention that we're going to have members of the Senate as well as members of the House that will be coming in and out to ask questions. And so I want to welcome, of course, our members of the House Oversight Committee. And then, of course, we're going to be having members of the U.S. Senate here as well. I'm going to begin with some opening comments. Then I'm going to turn it over to Senator Blumenthal, who's also going to be introducing two of our first witnesses that are here. We'll be hearing from them in just a minute. Welcome to both of you, of course. And then we'll be going on to questions after the two sets of opening statements. And so we'll go ahead and begin. I want to just note that we're here because the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, and of course, broader agencies across DHS are completely out of control. And because Congress has a responsibility to step in when constitutional rights are being violated. Now, in December, of course, Senator Blumenthal and I convened a hearing to call out the unlawful arrests of U.S. citizens detained by ICE and CBP. And since that time, the violence and the lawlessness has actually escalated. So we're going to continue to hold hearings, and we're going to continue to push back. I want to begin by just showing this chart right here. Now, back in July, Donald Trump and Republicans passed a law that cut hundreds of billions of dollars from health care and food assistance. And they used that money to hire thousands of ICE agents who are now terrorizing cities and killing United States citizens. Now, this chart shows how they made ICE the highest funded law enforcement agency in the history of the United States. 10 years ago, the ICE budget was less than $6 billion. Last year, it was over $85 billion. And if you look at funding for the agency and look at what just happened in the last year, it is stunning to see how much we are spending across this country to terrorize, disfigure, in some cases kill U.S. citizens and people across this country. Now, Oversight Democrats have tracked, reviewed, and vetted over 470 incidents on our immigration enforcement dashboard, and 186 of them include problematic uses of force by agents. Now, these are not isolated mistakes. They are a clear pattern. And we know that's a tip of the iceberg. We're seeing ICE, CBP, other parts of DHS, all across our country terrorize communities. We've seen warrantless searches of homes and vehicles. We've seen folks arrested, detained with no criminal history. We've seen folks be sent to detention centers only to be released with no explanation as to why. Now, American citizens and innocent people have been brutalized, and our witnesses today will testify to that. And to be clear, we've seen people dragged from cars, beaten, gassed, attacked with crowd control weapons, blinded, like back in my home state of California, left with broken ribs, run off the road, beaten, injured, disfigured, and shot. Officers have been ordered to enter homes without warrants in violation of the Constitution. And we've also seen the federal government labeling American citizens as domestic terrorists, calling people, quote, assassins, and falsely claiming they intended to kill law enforcement, which we know, of course, has been untrue. We're seeing the results of policies set by powerful people of no respect for the Constitution, no respect for the law, no respect for basic humility. And these folks here, which we know well, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller, of course, Tom Homan and Greg Bovino, these people, every single one of them, has to be held accountable for the crimes, for the terror, and for the murders that are happening to our own people in this country. We're taking action today because the stakes could not be higher. Now, this morning, Oversight Democrats released our initial investigation into the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Now, Alex, of course, was a VA nurse who was peacefully exercising his First and Second Amendment constitutional rights before he was pepper sprayed, tackled, disarmed, and then shot repeatedly in the back. Now, Renee Good was a mom who told an officer, which we all have seen on video, "I'm not mad at you." She said, "I'm not mad at you," before she was shot dead. We mourn both of these two Americans today, and we find that these shootings cannot be justified. We also know they were part of a broader pattern of escalating unlawful violence by the Trump administration and DHS to intimidate dissent. Now, this administration then lied about the events and is now obstructing independent investigations to cover up misconduct and deny accountability to the victims and to the public. Our hearing today will build on evidence, not just that we put out in our reports, in our investigation, but the incredible work being done by the Senate, its various committees. And again, I especially want to thank Senator Blumenthal for his leadership of holding these hearings. The stories that we're going to hear today are hard to tell, and they're hard to hear. So I want to thank again our witnesses for the courage and the strength that it takes to be here today. This is a step towards accountability, and we know that the courage, that the strength that you all have that are bringing is in light of what you're hearing from the administration. I think it's important for the public to recognize that this administration has lied, has defamed, and has smeared people that have been peacefully protesting. They've weaponized the Department of Justice to silence protesters, observers, and, of course, journalists. But I also remind folks that Donald Trump won't be president forever. Kristi Noem won't be the secretary forever. And when you serve this country in an elected office or in uniform, you swear an oath to the Constitution. You pledge to work for all Americans. You don't get a license to kill, and there's no absolute immunity. We're going to stand up for the rights of our communities, and we believe strongly that we need to hear the stories of those that are in front of us today. I want to thank our witnesses for the courage, and I want to yield back to our host today, and really the person that's been organizing and leading all of these hearings, Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you so much, Representative Garcia. Working with you has been a great experience in partnership, and I am really gratified that we're going to continue our work, continue our investigation, continue our efforts to hold DHS accountable. This hearing is extraordinary and unprecedented, but so is the inhumanity and brutality that we've seen from a government agency. With us today are brave Americans who have come forward to speak truth to power. That phrase is overused, but truly it applies today. With us in spirit are also Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy, in spirit. They should be here in person, but they were murdered. They were murdered by their own government. They were killed in cold blood. And I can only imagine how painful it must be for you to see that image of your sister, which speaks to your courage, your guts, your grit and determination to be here. And you have won the admiration and gratitude of all of the colleagues here and many others and Americans throughout the country. The witnesses here bear the scars of government lawlessness and DHS brutality, mental scars as well as physical scars. They're here as the face and voice of Alex and Renee and of thousands of others who span the country and who have experienced this inhumanity. And let's be very clear. These stories are not just about Minneapolis. People here from all over the country. These stories span the country. The nation is Minneapolis. We are all Minneapolis. And these stories are a call to action. I was in this room just a few hours ago at a hearing of the Armed Services Committee. I sat on this dais as we heard from witnesses about our national nuclear security in the face of threats from enemies and adversaries abroad who have nuclear weapons. We are here about a matter of national security that is equally important to the one that we heard about this morning. The violence unleashed by the Trump administration against our fellow citizen can touch any American at any time, any one of you who are listening by live stream or C-SPAN or who are hearing and seeing this hearing. Whether you're going to a church clothing drive, to make a donation on your way to a doctor's appointment, or even heading home from dropping your 6-year-old son off at school. Real stories we will hear today. These stories, and far too many others, demand that every one of us stand up against the injustices and demand accountability. The directives underlying this lawlessness come from the top. Those pictures of the leaders that Representative Garcia showed you are ultimately the culprits here. They bear responsibility. They are the ones who issued the quotas for arrests and detention that are driving the brutality. They are the ones who have issued a policy directive, kept secret until a whistleblower came to me, showing that the acting director of ICE is authorizing agents to break down your door, ransack your home, terrify your children, detain and arrest you, as has happened countless times across the country. The top ranks of DHS are more than complicit. They are the driving force behind this brutality, and they should be held accountable. They've not only directed those actions, but also the lies and misinformation that have been presented to courts in violation of the duties lawyers have to present only the truth to courts. And they have engaged in character assassination against today's witnesses, as well as countless others, including Alex and Renee. We are at a defining moment. It's a moral moment. We are determined to continue to investigate and uncover wrongdoing, but we'll also seek action for accountability and justice. My feeling is that we should demand a complete overhaul, a rebuilding of DHS and the agencies that fall here. These reforms should include body cameras and identification on every officer, masks off at all times, rigorous use of force training and policies, independent investigations into acts of violence, and ongoing monitoring of these agents, a police force that has these kinds of systematic failings would be supervised by a monitor. And we've seen it in Connecticut, as my colleagues have seen it in their states around the country. And most important for me, rights of citizens to seek redress, rights of anyone to have recourse in the courts to make sure that agents violating their rights are held accountable. If you go to your local police chief and ask, what are the norms? Every one of the demands that I've listed here is going to be recounted to you, including a right of action on the part of people to seek accountability. It can be done with 4 words. 4 words. In the current United States Code, 1983, all we need to do is add, when we say every person, under color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage, of the United States, of the United States, or any other state or territory. That basic responsibility ought to be the right of every citizen, because we know that rights without remedies are empty promises. If a local cop can be sued, so should an ICE agent or a CPB official. And so should Greg Bovino and Kristi Noem and Todd Lyons and Steve Miller, and yes, Donald Trump. There is a real need for a full accounting of what these agencies have done. Someday,